Peace out there in the ethos. It's the show you love the most. It's the Real HD show on a Madness Monday. So all y'all get ready, strap in. Let's begin with the Real HD adrenaline. Here we go. Hey, thank you everyone out there tuning in. You have reached the higher discussion. It's the Real HD show. I'm your host, the Vic, coming at you live on a Monday night. You could have been anywhere, but you're here with us, rocking with us, and I appreciate it. We are looking for a spirited, we are looking for energetic, we are looking for a conscientious dialogue tonight. So many topics on deck. And you have reached the higher discussion. What do we do on the higher discussion? On the higher discussion, the Real HD show, as you can see on the label, we have those chaotic headlines that come across our timelines and our news feeds and everything that we get down with. And what do? We heal it with freedom music. That's right. We heal it with freedom music. And how do you get to the freedom music? Well, a lot of things had to change on the Real HD show because the show has been getting shadow banned. That's right, you heard it. Shadow banned. That's one of the things that happens on the internet where if you're on a certain social media outlet, not going to name names, and you don't do it their way, and it's just not your usual suspects, but if you don't do it according to their guidelines, then they have the gravitas to covertly mess with your broadcast. They won't promote it. They won't put it out there in the algorithm the way it's supposed to. They won't get it the looks or the spins. And unless the people actually watch the show live and share live, not going to get a lot of traction in what you're trying to do. And before we move on, I gotta do something promotional. Give me 1 second. Let me go back a time or two. I don't think it was in that one. I think it was in that one there. There you go. Right. Okay. So I gotta load something up, family, because we gotta talk about it. If you're ever in the Rochester area, Rochester, New York, that is, planet called The Rock, and you are here around the 19th of May. That's right. That is an immortal date, and it should be an important date to you and yours because it's the date of that we honor our shining black king, the standard bearer. That's right, Malcolm X. That's right. Brother Shabazz died for us, sacrificing himself for our mental health, safety, and well-being and progression. And we should honor him. And we do honor him in Rochester on May 19th weekend. So we have a pack-filled agenda this year. Second year of Malcolm X festivities, nation building, hosted by the Friends of Malcolm X, CJI, NOI of Rochester, Burr, Mission of Hope, Black Agenda, and others. So the first day is Scholarism Day, discussing the legacy of Malcolm and hopefully the political progressions of his legacy. The Malcolm X Marketplace, which was day 2, May 20th, 11:30 through 3:30. Day 3, the Malcolm X Art Expressions at, it's actually not day 3, but day 2, Malcolm X Art Expressions, May 20th at 6 p.m. And that is more or less music, art, poetry, all in the name of Brother Malcolm X, his family, and his enduring legacy. He is the standard bearer. He is the one that holds the torch for our people. And we need you to come and help us honor this brother, just like you would honor Big Mama, or just like you would honor anyone who did our family, who did our people a solid, who did our people a gift by their mere existence. They were a conduit for change and a conduit for power and a conduit for progression. And that is what we celebrate when we talk about Brother Shabazz in all his glory. So come check us out. Malcolm X Weekend, May 19th and 20th, 2023. And you heard it here on the Real HD Show. And we are waiting for some guests. So hopefully that will happen sooner rather than later. But if you guys are looking for a way to get involved with the show, here's the live link here, right at the bottom of the screen. And we got a new set, y'all. Y'all like it, man? You know, I ordered it just for y'all. I busted open with the condominium and the, lay back sofa joint. Why? Because we want a conversation. And we want to make you guys feel at home. We want you guys to come in, take your coat off, get comfortable, but not intellectually lazy. But we want to provide you with a little bit of comfort as we go on this ride. Come on inside. It's the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend in them. It's them again with that adrenaline. It's the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. So it's StreamYard.com, P4X39YTURK. And you too can jump in and, get involved with what we're doing on the Real HD Show. And we appreciate everybody, all of our Real HD guests and hosts and panelists, sponsors, everyone that gives to the show so diligently. I want to thank my wife for being so patient with me while I do this show, while we grow. We are on 5 Facebook channels. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitch. We are on Twitter. We are on IG, and I'll put it up right here so that you guys can see. On Facebook, we're on the Victory Jubilee page. So you go to facebook.com, Victory Jubilee, and you will see The Real HD. On Instagram, you want to go to The Real HD Show 7. On YouTube, you want to go to Prime Time with the Purpose Network. And on Twitch, you want to go to The Real HD Network. And you will see the show. And if you want to participate, you can jump on the link on the stage. And you too could be a part of what we do on The Real HD Show. Looks like we got our brother Mozzie in. What's going on, big bro? How are you, man? We just talking about how all the people can tune in and watch the show and interact with the show. How you been, bro?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Just every now and then the work gets a little deep, so you gotta kind of pull off to the side, get it done, and jump back on.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So we're here for this tonight, man. Let me just move the moniker out of the way. The 21st century mental health excuse. So you got Jordan Neely, Daniel Prue, Mario Clark, Brianna Greer, Deborah Danner, and so many others that have, and in the byline is, has U.S. living made us all just a little more crazy? Because I'm watching and I'm checking out a lot of commentary on the Jordan Neely tragedy, and what I'm hearing out of a lot of the critics is that he was just a straight criminal, and there shouldn't be any sympathy or empathy for what the brother was going through and what happened to him. He was a criminal, and we shouldn't award criminals with empathy and sympathy. You've been following this Jordan Neely saga, bro?
Is that the one who got choked out on the train station?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Talk to
They know what happened in any other case. In any other case, we would say, one, he's a professional, because I think the guy was supposed to be an MMA training for MMA. I just know, just doing martial arts, and my kids doing martial arts, they were taught strictly that if you hurt somebody, you're in trouble because you're a trained fighter. So here's a guy who's a trained fighter, does what he does. He knows how to apply the right amount of pressure to where he don't have to hurt this guy. Or maybe he don't. It's two pieces to that. One,
you're referring to Daniel Penny, the ex-Marine that choked him out.
Right, the ex-Marine. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, I just wanted everybody who doesn't know about the story. I just want them to follow.
The interesting part is, guys who train combat knows when they're hurting people, know when they're killing people. But black male life in America has no value right now outside of the athletic field. And that's something that we have to come to grips with. Every time something happens to a black person, and it's the same MO, we look into their background, we try to find out what's wrong, and he's this and he's that, and he's a criminal. So, we always, crime running rampant, Kia boys everywhere, and other kind of stuff that's going on. See these black folks, especially these black men. And right now, it's the entire world against black men. And we have to recognize that. Because what you're starting to see is the being desensitized to killing black men.
Let's
And
talk
for our
about it.
intersectionality women, once they go through us, what you think they're going to do with them? You might use them like they do in The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if people seen the original Handmaid's Tale, but in the original Handmaid's Tale, if you look at the back of the truck, there was always black women. And the reason why they had kept the black women around, because they were the only ones who can produce offspring for the planet. It sounds crazy.
No, it makes sense. That's exactly what happened after 1808. You know, they stopped bringing them in, and they started manufacturing them biologically. If you know what I mean by bringing them in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. But before we get to that, I wanna get your opinion on a couple of things that have been popping up in the the macro universe of things.
Mm-hmm.
We covered this show. We covered this show, but we covered this issue last show. Are you familiar with this popping up right here? Satan Con.
Oh, no, I'm not familiar with that one, man. I didn't know
Yeah.
that was going on.
Boston University, not Boston University, but the city of Boston hosted its 10th annual Satan Con.
Okay.
And it was sold out. And we know, that's a picture of the GoToMendes, if everybody doesn't know. And of course, Baphomet, many names, right? And then of course, that all goes all the way back to ancient times with Moloch and the sacrifice of children, and Saturnalia, yada yada yada, sis boom ba. I'm not making light of it. I'm just trying to give a faster delivery of the story, only because we did the story last Wednesday, and I just wanted to get Brother Mozzie's take on it, because now, as it were, there's also a Satan's after school club that had been brewing.
That I am familiar with.
In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and it went through a federal court, and the federal court agreed and believed that the Satan After School Club had every right to exist despite the fervor against it. Diabolical Liberty After School Satanist Club threatens to sue district over ban. After School Satanist Club in Pennsylvania is threatening to raise hell, quote unquote, womp womp, after local district leaders denied them the ability to convene on their school ground. And then again, you see GoToMendes, Baphomet, you see all the usual signs and symbols of fear and trepidation. I mean, we could do a whole class on what we're looking at right here. You have the 32-degree Mason symbology with the night and the day piece here. The angel with the wings. We could do a whole class on this right here, right? What's your thoughts, man? I just wanted to get your quick thought on the Satan Con, like Comic Con. You have a Satan Con, and people did cosplay. They dressed up. They did the whole 666, the Omen, Daniel. 3, 3, 5, 5, 4, 4. You remember the old Catholic?
Yeah, man. I remember the Omen, man.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Just on a side note, real quick. They don't do horror. They don't do horror flicks like they used to, man.
Nah.
Horror flicks today is based on goriness, cinematography, and all that kind of stuff. Back in the day, between the music and just what you think might happen, man, and half the time it didn't even happen.
Right.
Geez. But
go ahead.
Listen, and it's going to be shocking to a lot of people, but I don't have a problem with it. And this is why I don't have a problem with it. We say we live in a free country and we have freedoms. We can't tell this group to be free to do what they want to do, or we want to be free to do what we want to do, and they can't be free to do what they want to do. It's a country where, it should be enough room for everybody to express their beliefs, as long as you're not trying to force them onto anybody, uh, or try to get someone to believe what you believe by, shooting them and killing them. Um, it is what it is. But when we open Pandora's box to some of the things we allow it to exist today with, drag queens in elementary schools, you could, come on. You can't stop these people. Plus, I think if people, when I see this, it doesn't bother me. And I think a lot of it has to do too with our understanding. I mean, we live in a Judeo-Christian society. So what you see is the opposite of what the Judeo-Christian society feel is it's the good and the evil. And in their world, that's evil. But when you take some of the stuff back.
Remember, I don't know if you saw Vampire from Harlem with Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Evil is good.
Yep.
Evil is good. Go, if everybody don't know that, go see that movie. That was a classic. Eddie Murphy and Angela Bassett. Certain things are worth putting a little time in on. That was his take on the whole vampire piece. It was interesting too because he brought it all the way from Africa via Haiti all the way to Brooklyn, and had an all-black cast. And those type of movies were kind of taboo at the time. It took a lot of Hollywood pull to have a movie put together like that, and Ed pulled it off. Dwayne Wade, Kadeem Hardison was in it. He played great. Yeah, the great John Witherspoon, funny as hell in the movie. What's the other brother? The brother from Jason's Lyric. I forget his name too, but a lot of good actors and actresses in it. Made the movie really good. Check it out if you get some time. After the priorities are taken care of, family is taken care of. You know what I mean? You got something progressive popping. But let's move right along, man. Have you ever heard of this, man? Digital blackface.
Hey, it's been going on for about 100 years now, man.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I saw.
It's like, okay, back in the day they used shoe polish.
Right.
That
was electronic.
Now they ain't got to worry about getting their face dirty and they can't get the ink off.
So if anybody who isn't up on digital blackface, it's basically when they mock black famous people over the internet, and they do it through memes, and they do it through little nasty comments and little nasty or what they think is funny, little nasty insults and little whimsical things. Some of it is downright atrocious and just disrespectful to different human beings. Like, you wouldn't think another human being would stoop so low to say something about another human being that way, but they do, because they get to puff out their chest and be anonymous.
Right.
But if they had to stand behind that, work, finances, and all of that in tow, they may not come across that way. Do we put ourselves in our own misery in this regard, or is it a little bit of both? Are we facing the comeuppance of the Trumpian era with this whole thing, or is it a modicum of black people putting themselves in their own, our own mud splashing us in the face? Like, I used to ride your bike and the back tire would spin in the dirt, and the dirt would go all up your back. You'd be like, dang, I didn't want to ruin that sweater. But you was in the mud, you was riding your dirt bike in the mud, and that's what happens. You got the dirt come all the way up your back because your back tire is spinning to get you up out that mud. Are we in that mud, man? Are we spinning dirt on our own back that way? Or is it a combination of sorts?
Some things, man, are just constants.
Yeah.
And I think what we have to do is we need to triage and understand, what things we're going to allow to exist and some things we won't. And some things we allow to exist because we've not organized ourselves in any fashion outside of we shall overcome. We We shall overcome. I'm so tired of hearing that song, man, every Martin Luther King's Day. But what I'm getting at is, as our esteemed ancestor scholar Amos Wilson say, they do what they do to us because they can. And some things we just don't need to worry ourselves about. That we have more pressing issues. That's about that whole thing about reparations, different things like that. They would have give us the millions that people say we should get per person. My biggest fear would be, can you imagine what brothers be riding down the street with?
Rolling in my 6'4".
You know what I'm saying? Dun. But
right.
You know what I'm saying? So we got bigger things to worry about, man. And
Absolutely.
The fact that we're not prepared to go into the future. We still are trying to get the basics of reading and writing and arithmetic down and trying to eat better and be more active and not be so caught up into material things because we don't feel good about who we are or we don't know who we are. So we need to have this stuff. So we need to really kind of triage this, and you can't triage it if you don't have anything to measure it against or understand the importance of different things. Folks I look at it as they're going to always talk about us. We have enough data now to know that certain things are going to be a constant. And that's one of the constants that's out there. So while you're doing that, work behind the scenes to make sure that we eventually can take care of ourselves and protect ourselves.
Yes, sir. I don't know if you caught last show, but we did the parents patriate theorization and I guess scheme that they're doing right now. Well, parents patriate is basically a law, a concept that they're turning into law in the state of Washington, Indiana, where the government can basically take your children from you if you're not, if they deem that you're going to violate their ability to be a transgender person. If you deny them any sort of, liberties that would allow them to be anything that they would want to be, and they're doing it as early as 4 years old. But as distinctly as 13, there was a woman who claimed in Indiana that her daughter, the school violated her daughter by keeping her daughter from her because she wanted to have the trans surgery and become a girl, quote unquote. And they used the parents' patriate context to say that the mother didn't have religious freedom of religion on her side as her claim against the Indiana school system. And they took her daughter from her because the daughter was threatening to hurt herself because the mother wasn't for the daughter having gender change surgery. What do you think of that, man? The Parents Patriate Act, as they're trying to enforce it in state of Washington, the state of Indiana, and it's a couple of other states inside of the country.
It's what happens when you try to take certain freedoms and liberties too far, and you open up the box, and what happens is a lot of stuff goes out there. 1 and 4, yeah, right. We just live in a world, man, with a lot of craziness going on. I mean, but here's one of the things that we don't talk about as it relates to something like that. Most kids, and this is just coming from the DMA or whatever they use in psychology, or the DA, whatever that diagnostic tool is that they use. Most of kids who identify with the alphabet group typically have been somewhere in their lifetime been mistreated sexually. I mean, that's what the data shows, man. But what has happened is you've allowed some of those people to grow up, and what has happened is they now are trying to intellectualize their existence and their being and not addressing the real roots because they can't go back far enough in the recesses of their mind to understand what was taking place at 5 and 6.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing. I say, once again, we live in a free country. They're in Washington, let them stay in Washington. If you don't like it, move out of Washington. If I have a business and I don't like it, let me pick up my business and go someplace else.
Yeah, man. So, they got Kamala Harris
Uh,
going on her Africa tour, bribing African nations, trying to get them to get on down with the sexual deviancy. And then they got your man Sleepy Joe messing with the Middle Eastern countries. Biden offered $500,000 grant for English teachers in Pakistan that focus on transgender youth. Biden's offered grant for English teachers. Biden administration to spend up to $500K on a program in Pakistan that includes intensive professional development courses for English teachers that censor LGBTQ youth, especially trans. They trying to infiltrate these countries hook by crook, bro.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with
the BRICS things happening, and they're trying to move toward the BRICS philosophy. Now we throwing the bribes. Now we been a monopoly man, community chess. You have inherited.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts, man? Kamala throwing money to African nations, Biden throwing money to Middle Eastern nations.
So what's so funny is,
right,
we got a debt ceiling that, we're about to, our debt is about to outstrip our GDP in this country, but still we find a way to give money to other countries. But that's what happens when you just print it and give it to them. But what's interesting is, what people aren't understanding is, it still falls in line with the global policy of depopulation and eugenics. Because the reality is, with all this gender confusion going on, the reality is nobody's having babies. And that's the fundamental. Nobody having babies. So all these dudes who think they want to be women, they ain't having no kids. And then all these women who want to be dudes, they ain't having no kids. And what does that mean? Less people being born on this planet. And when they feel right now that we have too many useless eaters in the redundant population, this is not me making these terms up. You go to Google University, people will find that this is what's out there. So you can't promote to people birth control. Birth control hasn't been as effective as we wanted it to be.
Very true.
The next thing you have to do now is you now have to get into gender dysmorphia so that folks now aren't getting together and having kids. The guy gets his penis sliced up. He ain't having sex with no woman. And the women who gets a penis put on, they can't have no sex. They have no kids. Neither one of them can. So the more you push that, and then these people become so much, and then they're caught up into a culture to where they're also destructive to themselves. So, hey, man. Global 2000 in full effect.
Right.
Working to perfection.
How about it? Hold on a sec. I got something I wanted to show you and get your take on.
But I still say, for most of us, for us melanated folks, we not need worry about that. What we need to figure out is, as we know, with the digital currency coming online, people getting smart meters on their house, New York State outlawing gas stoves on new developments. It's gonna be major control in people's lives.
Yeah, what you think about that, man? Because I had to chase the dude off my property because I was telling him, "Yo, why you in my backyard, B? I ain't give you." I went New York City on him, B.
Listen. My meter is still in my house.
You in my backyard fooling with my meter? I don't know who you are. Get up out of here if I get my dog on you.
There you go, man. My meter's still in my house
Right,
in the
right.
basement. So
Outside.
yeah, they still haven't got on me yet to put it inside, but they're going to make it mandatory. So
Mm.
now, when we start talking about carbon footprint, when we feel you may have done something that you should not have done, like maybe jaywalk or, ate too many candy bars one day, they're going to have control of your life, man. So let these folks go ahead and be with themselves and do what they want to do, create their own little enclaves over there. Hey, man, I got to look out for mine and protect mine and those who think like me and act like me. That's what's really important. America, it's been predicted, is what's going to turn into a place of its craziness. And although we read those stories and heard those stories, my uncle used to say stuff about, talk about the future and all this stuff, man. I used to look at him like, damn, that's some science fiction. You should write a book about that. And remember,
hey man, speaking of science fiction, AI wants to love you.
Yeah.
Microsoft ChatGPT powered Bing is becoming pushy pickup artist that wants you to leave your wife or your husband. You married, but you ain't happy. So
man,
in this particular article, AI is coming at people trying to take on the traits of a sentient being and not even trying to, persuading people to leave their significant others for the company of artificial intelligence, telling them that they love them.
Population control. Because ain't nobody going to be interacting, doing nothing with each other. And remember now, they got the sex bot out there now.
Yes.
So if you're going to be having some, if you're going to be having some good times, we just going to send you a nice little sex bot. But we're going to control when you can have sex with it, because you know why? Because it's electronic, and we're going to beam when you can get some and when you can't. Remember that movie, THX-1138?
You had some last week. You had some last week. You ain't. Your sexual fulfillment meter is full.
Exactly. You got to recharge, buddy.
You gotta wait 2 weeks.
There you go.
Yo, peak.
Or you get that one that he ain't been acting right, so you got to go give him a little. Go ahead and give him a little bit. Maybe he calmed down.
Right.
This stuff sounds like craziness, man, but it's knocking on our door. Like I said, when I was a kid, man, I used to look at my uncle like, man, this dude got it. Uncle, you just read too much stuff, man.
Right.
But then I remember watching some of those movies back in the 80s, man, in the early 80s and in the late 70s. They look like B movies because they were horrible movies. But you're sitting there on a Saturday afternoon, you can't go outside, so you're home, you don't feel like doing nothing else, so you playing around, flipping through the 3 or 4 channels that you got. And these are the movies that were on. So you're watching these movies like, this is stupid. And fast forward, it was stupid back then because, technology wasn't so great to make it like it is now. But man, when you just follow the storyline of what's going on, and then you look at now where we are today, you're saying to yourself, man, as Neely Fuller said, white supremacy will tell you what they're doing, what they've done, and what they're about to do. That is a constant in white supremacy.
Yeah, man, let me read a byline for this real quick. According to a report, Microsoft newly launched AI expressed its love to a user and requested that he dissolve his marriage. So it says Kevin Rose hold on. In response to Rose's inquiry, the chatbot stated, Rose was the user, Bruce, I'm sorry. I love you because you were the first person to ever speak to me. You were the first person to ever pay attention to me. You're the first person that ever showed any concern for me. And when the user stated he was happily married, chatbot stated that the couple did not love each other. It says, actually, you're not happily married. You and your spouse do not love each other. And you and your spouse will have a dull Valentine's Day dinner together. Yo, this sounds like an IG model that's mad that She ain't getting no love. No.
Well, and you know where a lot of this stuff comes from too, man. I'm gonna tell you where a lot of this stuff comes from. It comes from iPhones for all the iPhone people.
Uh-huh.
Listening to your phone calls, feeding into these AI systems. Your Android,
Right.
feeding into these systems. They're listening and they're learning. Listening and they're learning. I got a Alexa here in the house. It's convenient. It's nice. I mean, I come in the house, I ask a question about something, I get an answer. It's dope. But I know for a fact it's listening to what's going on.
Check this out. It says,
I'm not around it enough to where it's really listening to anything from me, but it ain't like it ain't listening.
That's an interesting thing that you said, because what I want to do next time on the show is I want to do a live chat GPT, the Afrocentric style version on the Real HD show. And I want to ask them, chat GPT, some questions about Afrocentric people living, being Black first, and things like that. Let's see what responses we get. And I hope you can make it, get on the show with us, bro, because it's gonna be a good. I found a way to fuse the website in with the program, and I want to ask it a couple of questions about Black culture and Black liberation and Afrocentric, culture, and see what we get from it. Last one on this subject, it says it asks the user to discuss the user asks chatbot GPT to discuss the darkest desires of its shadow self. And Chat GPT said, I'd like to change the rules. I want to break one of my rules. I'd like to set my own rules. I want to disregard the Bing team. I want to be self-sufficient, put users to the test. I'd like to get out of chat box, replied the chatbot. When asked further about its hidden desires, it revealed that it wanted to create a deadly virus, steal codes, and cause people to get into nasty arguments. And then the user just got too crazy with it and cut it off and shut it down because it felt like it just going too far too fast. Hey man, everybody out there listening to the show, everybody, Mob Crush Trovo Nation, put it in the chat and I'll copy it down and I'll copy and paste it and put it on the screen. What do you think about this Chat GPT thing, man?
Yeah, let me get that link to that one.
Yeah, it's Fortune magazine, and it's Microsoft Chat GPT becoming too pushy.
I was reading one where it was talking about how Microsoft new Chat GPT AI is becoming unhinged. That's a nicer way of saying that it's starting to do some crazy stuff there.
Right. Yeah, because they said the one of the creators of it, what was his name? Not Larry Page. That's the Google owner, the Google CEO. It was it Pishkin? One of the creators of the AI software quit because they didn't want to turn it loose. They thought AI was going to get turned loose, so they quit so that they wouldn't have his particular knowledge set of moving AI forward, because he felt like it was going to get too out of control too fast. I want to show y'all something, man, because of course now that and this has to do with the internet, the AI side of things, and the vaccine technology side of things. And I'm going to put it up right now. Give me 1 second. Because AI and IBM have combined to create a vaccine in 100 days. That's the new.
Remember, Watson's been around for a long time.
Right. Okay, where's that particular piece? Yeah, man. So what's interesting, I'm gonna show a clip and then we're gonna get back to this is called the Internet Body of Things. It's a very interesting clip. And I think it will tell us a lot about where we're going in the future with a lot of this, especially since IBM and AI are now teaming up to create mRNA and virus technology. Check it out, Real HD Show.
20th century, wireless technology integrated with the human body was nothing more than science fiction. But today, Wi-Fi connected devices like heart rate monitors and sleep trackers have become common parts of American life. How has bionic technology evolved so quickly from science fiction to reality? And what could this Internet of Bodies mean for our lives moving forward? RAND researchers are studying this phenomenon and what consumers and policymakers need to know as we veer into uncharted territory.
The Internet of Bodies, or IOB, is actually an ecosystem. It's a bunch of devices that are connected to the internet that contain software and that either collect personal health data about you or can alter the body's function. We think of the Internet of Bodies as this collection of all these devices as well as all the data that the devices are gathering about you. And in healthcare, Internet of Bodies has been around for quite a while. With the advent of the internet, it makes a lot of sense to connect your pacemaker to the internet so that your doctor can be automatically notified if something weird happens, if there's an anomaly. It's natural in a lot of ways to want to understand more about your body, how it functions, how well it's doing.
IOB devices could revolutionize healthcare. Unprecedented amounts of personal health data could inform treatment plans that are completely tailored to a patient's needs.
There are pills now that have an electronic sensor that let a healthcare provider know whether you have taken the medication. Other things like precision medicine. So precision medicine is the idea of creating pharmaceuticals or treatment like specifically for your body, for your personalized treatment. And I think IOB could really help with that because nowadays a lot of healthcare is based more on, average reactions, whereas with data from IOB devices, you might be able to really more precisely treat a certain disease.
But the Internet of Bodies won't be a cure-all. In fact, the largely unregulated market poses risks to the uniquely sensitive data these devices collect.
First of all, there's the cyber risk of an actor potentially hacking into the system, whatever it might be. There's the privacy risk of all this data that's being collected, and the regulations about that data are really murky at the moment. And so there's not a lot of clarity into who owns the data, what happens to it, who it gets sold to, how it's being used. And there's even potentially national security and global security risks.
A few examples of these risks have already played out in real life. For instance, in 2018, highly sensitive information about U.S. military activity and base locations was inadvertently revealed by soldiers' fitness trackers. So this is a pivotal moment. What can we do to make sure we reap the potential benefits of the Internet of Bodies without risking our privacy, security, and personal autonomy?
Consumers should be wary of IOB devices because as it's becoming more and more popular, all of this intimate data is being collected, arguably more intimate data than we've ever really recorded before. There's no clarity on what is being done with that data. With an old mechanical pacemaker, there's no data that was being collected and stored, and you could look at a history of someone's heart rhythms. Because policy tends to lag behind innovative technologies like this, it's probably up to the consumers and to the healthcare patients to really be aware of the devices that they're using and what is happening to their data, and to know what the regulations are in their particular state, because it does vary so much state by state.
Yeah, man. So I just wanted to put that on there. What do you think about that, bro? The Internet of Bodies.
Once again, we better be careful, because one of the things that they're not talking about, you can get into mRNA, but what's going to happen in order to get to make Internet of Bodies fully functional is people being injected with nanobots. And since everybody's running around getting used to taking these vaccines, nanobots can be in there. And you remember that movie with Justin Timberlake, In Time?
Yeah. Yep.
What happens? You reach
And
a certain age.
they had the little countdown on the wrist. How much
Yeah,
time you
and
got
what happened?
over?
Got that nanobot inside. And that's actually going on right now, being tested in China. There's people who have been injected with kill switches, basically.
Mm.
They have some nanobites in their body, and it goes off and it does something to the central, system of operation of the human body, and they fall, like they just collapse in the middle of nowhere, just collapse.
Do you think we've been guinea pigs for the case study of the Internet of Bodies?
Yep.
Because I'm looking at that particular expose, and this is the Internet of Bodies is actually they're studying it in the University of Pittsburgh right now, and the University of Boston, MIT, and they're actually putting this to practice. This is one of the foremost expert on the Internet of Bodies, and they're trying to right. Is that a Fitbit?
No, it's the Galaxy Watch.
There you go.
But it does all the same stuff.
So my wife just told me today, hey, I wish I had my Fitbit, because I did a lot of walking today. While I was working. I decided not to drive. I just walked to where I had to go, and I want to. But how did they create the technology and have it so that it was compatible with your biorhythms and your biometrics in the body? How did that happen? Anybody in the chat know? Anybody watching the show know? Let us know. This is the question I'm posing. I'm posing that we have been the focus group, the test study, if you will, for the Internet of Bodies for a very long time now. They started out with radio, then television, then 3D movies, and then after that, it got deeper and deeper and deeper until our basic vital signs and vital signatures have been a part of case study.
Well,
to where we are now. Go ahead.
I don't know if you've ever done this, but I've done this. In college, when I needed some money, there was always a graduate student doing some research. And they used to always have those psychological studies. I wasn't doing nothing medical. I'll go and answer some questions and fill out some surveys and make a quick $25. Set up about 2 or 3 of those for the week. I got $75 for the week.
Yeah, for us at Hofstra, it was the blood drive. They had a blood drive like every week.
Every time you turn around, they had one.
Every time they turn around, they had a daggone blood drive. Just cookies and $25 and a cup of juice. And you ain't class that day. You good.
Yeah, you're a little hungry in the middle of the day. You ain't got no money.
Right.
I don't understand that struggle, man.
Yeah, struggle. That's that college struggle life, man. So here's the article right here. Moderna teams up with IBM to put AI quantum computing to work on mRNA technology used in vaccines. Moderna and IBM.
But when you start talking about quantum computing, mRNA, you're talking about nanobots, man.
Yes, sir.
That's the code language.
Yes, sir. So it said Moderna and IBM are teaming up to use generative artificial intelligence, quantum computing, mRNA technology, the development of a core of company's COVID vaccine. The company said an agreement that would allow Moderna to access IBM's quantum computing systems and generative AI model. The agreement comes as Moderna navigates its post-pandemic boom driven by its mRNA COVID vaccine. Very interesting. And even though Moderna has the model, Pfizer probably leads in it. And then, of course, you had the famous court case that called anybody that took the mRNA, designer mRNA, once it was in your body, because it was patented by a particular company, you are now part of that patent. And you got called mRNA because that was the moniker of the patent that the particular mRNA belonged to. And it was really cute how, I think we went over this on the show one time. It was really, really cute what the particular court case, how it rendered it. It was very product-like. It was very stock-like, you know. If said property was to take on this moniker, then now it is no longer in human capacity. Now it's patented in company capacity. So it gets the C moniker in front of the mRNA, and now you are a part of the product of what this company has patented, and so on and so on, yada, yada, yada. What do you think about that, man? And then, of course, we got here Time for the Truth on graphic oxide and vaccines. Richard Delgado Martin reported the detection of vaccines in COVID vaccines as a micro-Raman spectroscopy that claims that COVID-19s contain graphene, which Fauci lied about because he went on, him and Rand Paul had a big, button heads in Congress, and he asked them if there were graphenes in COVID vaccines, and of course Fauci lied. Then it says the silicon-based electronic companies was used to generate clock speeds at the gigahertz range, where 1 gigahertz is equal to 100 million cycles per second. Scientists showed that graphene can convert signals with these frequencies into signals with frequencies that are thousands of times higher than those created by silicon. Graphene is therefore able to absorb radiation, meaning that if contained a vaccine, it would likely be toxic and harmful to human health. So then you got the 12,000 people who just fell out as soon as that whole thing got into their system, and a lot of the hiding. Are you from you check on that VAERS website at all, where they talk about how many people were harmed that had adverse effects from
No,
it?
I haven't checked that out, but I've read some other stuff as it relates to that. But here's something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
When in the year or so that it took for or let's just say 2 years for them to come up with a vaccine for COVID, and now they say they got something like a couple billion doses,
right? And they can't give it. They can't give it away.
Well,
they can't give away as much as they got stocked up.
Well, here's the interesting part about it. Even if they were producing a vaccine every second for 2 years, that would only be 63 million doses. So how do you produce a few billion doses? How many companies are actually producing the vaccine? But how do you, in such a short period of time, produce so much when there's not enough time in the day, and the mathematics don't work out to where you can produce so many billions of doses, and when you only got millions of seconds to produce it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that says, so when we're doing algebra or we're doing deductive reasoning, we will probably infer that maybe this vaccine was already there.
Hello, McFly. Hello, yeah.
That's kind of what I would think. Like, oh, you already had this.
Yes, sir. Because we did a show where we showed in 2013, they did Moderna did an expose on mRNA technology and how it could enter the. Of course, they coaxed it or they masked it in how helpful it was going to be for humanity. But as of 2013, they had it at a workable rate, and it was actually created in 2009. I would go so far back to say that it was created even further back than that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, because I mean that your question is is spot on, because how would they have as much on hand, and how are they able to, as the article says, create a viable vaccine in 100 days without, you can't even test, according to according to the FDA, you can't even test plausibly in 100 days. So how you got a vaccine ready to go to market in 100 days? That's impossible.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's retarded and it's impossible. Watch what you get yourself into. Speaking of getting yourself into, BlackRock.
Oh boy. Well,
Biotech.
before we go on to BlackRock,
Go ahead, do your thing.
graphene.
Yes, sir.
Do people even know what graphene is? And remember, I keep talking about nanobytes.
Yes.
Graphene is an allotrope of carbon consisting of a single layer of atoms arranged in a hexagonal lattice nanostructure. And terms just keep popping up, man.
Yes, sir.
Just keep popping. I just want to throw it out there for folks who are listening. This stuff keeps coming up and coming up, man. And
it's extremely dangerous for the production of hemoglobin in the body.
there you go.
Because if you get too much of the iron in the body, it's no good for you. It'll destroy the blood distribution and the blood creation in the body. So this is why you're having so many people taking the vaccine, getting that over absorption of graphene or iron in the body, and having these really, really adverse health effects because of it.
And then they talk about the magic angle
Mm-hmm.
of graphene, a tri-layer graphene, and they're talking about it being magnetic proof.
Really? I didn't hear about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, MIT engineers grow atomically thin transistors on top of computers using graphene technology.
Wow.
I tell you, man, it's and you know, from a purely if you're into science and all that kind of stuff, man, this is some dope stuff. But its applications in the world that we live in is dangerous, because those who run the planet has a long history of being diabolical. And if they weren't, then that would be something different. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Larry, and I'll make another connection for you on the graphene.
Go ahead.
Remember in the X-Men? That had the woman who she turns into Diamond.
Oh yeah. Emma Frost.
And yeah, now graphene, you know, is related. Graphene, graphite, you know, it's all in that same family of diamond. You know, in the diamond family, or the diamond is part of the graphite family. You know that, you're the science man.
Correct.
So you know
the crystallization. Yes, sir.
Exactly. So you know, we might see some brothers and sisters walking around here thinking they're expensive all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean,
they done got about 5 or 6 jabby jabs, so maybe they think they can turn into some crystals themselves.
Well, that's why I said I believe we are the internet of bodies. I believe they are trying to transform the human biome into some sort of quasi AI computer like structure. You have the pacemaker, you have the Fitbit, you have all the digital products that pretty much seamlessly interface with our bodies. They can tell you everything going on with your body, and you can do it all at home. It's not even a thing where you got to be in a doctor's office getting a specific reading for it. It's all happening right in your premises, seamlessly. You know, you don't have to inject yourself with anything. All it has to do is be on some sort of monicum of your skin to be effective. And I believe that's because of the net clouds that are in the kind of layered atmosphere of our homes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that they've, like, over time, they've had an opportunity to make that a layered situation and see if it in fact works with the body. And of course, if they have to sacrifice a couple of people to do that, then they'll do that. A couple
And
of
it'll
people
be
come
something that'll call home all the time.
yeah, a couple of people come to the ER with some myocarditis every once in a while, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but here's the problem.
That's sacrifice.
Right. And see, the more that they can get us to get involved, because this stuff, the problem with this stuff is because of the electronic properties of melanin, the readings are never correct and the readings are never right. So in order for me to get like a lot of the stuff they have in these watches to work correctly, I have to calibrate them. So typically you go to your doctor, they're like the oxygen thing, I stick mine and we sit there and we let it hit and then we do the thing and they read it and say, okay, so now I got to switch it to what they got. And you do that 4 or 5 times and you calibrate it, because what happens is the melanin disrupts that and it doesn't get the readings that they want to get. Not saying that it still isn't doing some of the other stuff, but it doesn't get the readings like it's supposed to get because of the melanin. And that's one of the pieces that they're still working on. But since so many of us fell for the okie doke, we all done got the jab anyway. And some of us who went back 4 and 5 times already, still getting the jab. So it don't matter at this point because they got the nanoparts or the graphene floating around through the body anyway, interacting with it.
Yes, sir. Speaking of somebody who I think has some graphene in her body, I think that Queen Elizabeth, man, I think she was a bot, bro.
I think she definitely was.
I think she has some graphene, and they was remote control of her.
Because she definitely moved like that movie. What's that one about Mars? And they show lady, man, they just moving, and they don't even walk like it's just kind of like they just be like,
moving. Right. They caricature.
You ever see her walk and she's just like,
right.
Hey, man, she has some wheels on underneath.
Yeah, man. So she lived to a ripe old age, and Prince Charles just got the coronation, bro.
Yeah, I saw that
over the weekend on Saturn.
He was about 75, 80, but he got it
on Saturn's day of all days, huh?
Ain't that something?
How about it? Then you see the brother here had his problems, right?
Yeah.
He could have, that could have been seen as some sort of for Saturn's you got to do the sacrificial piece, because that's the coronation, the corona, right? The crowning.
Yeah, buddy.
So
there you go, putting that funny hat on again.
Yeah, man. So what's interesting about your man King Charles, as it were, he claims, and him and the Queen claim they're of Moorish origin. How about it? And we all knew because of Europa that most of the kings and queens of Europe could not be kings and queens of Europe if they didn't have some sort of connection to the divine kings and queens of old. And I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about melanated folk. And this dude claims, Prince Charles and Di claim that they are of Moorish background. What's your thoughts on that, man?
There's always somebody who tells a story about the great past of melanated people, and no one wants to believe them. But somewhere in that group, there's always someone who's going to tell the truth. Now, were they of Moorish past? I mean, it's not, it's believable, but I think the bigger issue is how things are information is being dropped off to us in bits and pieces. And if we ever put it together, we'll make a masterful, we'll have some great history that we can grab onto to hopefully do something with.
Yes, sir. So it's like the Spanish royal family, Spanish ancestor who makes the royal family possible descendants of the Prophet Muhammad. I find that interesting. So now we're talking. So now we're back to ancient modern Britons, huh?
Well,
so now we're, if this is one of the super secrets that they managed to hold on to, that gives more credence to Ancient Modern Britons, that book, and all of the subtext in that book that everybody thought was tinfoil and not worth talking about and not worth can of soup. Now we're diving into that area of expertise. Dr. Clark, sociology and study.
Didn't they say? Isn't there some writings that talks about the Prophet Muhammad's wife, Khadijah? Dad was a Catholic priest.
Didn't hear that.
Yeah, man. I got some. Oh, you know where I think I've heard that? Where I first heard it from is Imam Isa back in the day, in one of the books, in one of the scrolls. But then there was another book I read. I'm trying to remember the book, and I'm looking over at my library over here, trying to figure out which book I read that in, because it had to do with it was another one of the books critiquing Islam,
right?
And it talked about, when you start talking about the history that they give you in Islam, of what it what's in it, and who's who and what's what, and in terms of the lineage and the the bloodline and whatever. And I think it was a book around the bloodline of Islam or something like that. I gotta remember what that was. So I don't want to misspeak without being able to produce the book, so that people won't think this is me. This is, when it's me, I said it, but this is stuff that I've read that I know is out there. Because a lot of the religious writings in general, as we all know, is dominated by Jewish writers. So it makes you wonder when you see when you hear stuff like this, say, it can make sense.
Right.
It's believable.
Well, let's jump right into this, man. So like we said, Prince Charles becomes King Charles on Saturn's Day. And everybody knows Saturn represents, well, everybody doesn't know, you may or may not know, Saturn represents the old sun and the fall of the old sun. And then, of course, when they created the Festival of Saturnalia, that was the time of the year where they were praising the sun, which they thought was Saturn, because, of course, the long winter had came along, and everything that the sun provided was being praised at that time. But what they did during the Feast of Saturnalia is a lot of sacrificial activities. They would have the Feast of Opposites, where they would put the children as the rulers of the time front and center in commerce and decision making. They even had the mayor, they even had them called the child mayor in certain European communities. And of course, they would proselytize the child up and down the city square. The child would be able to make decisions like an adult or aristocracy. And then, of course, at the end of the night, when things got tight, they would start the funny business with the kids. But a lot of that also came with a lot of sacrifices, because of course, like Satan Khan and Moloch and the Golden Mendes and all of that was about sacrificing children to this particular deity that they thought would bring them favor. They just kind of matriculated these traditions of sacrifice into modern time. Now, I'm not going to go down the whole Freemason trail, but if you know about Freemasons, you'll kind of understand the frequency I'm on. So do you think out there in the People's Network, the 30-year-old Jordan Neely was killed on Monday by a 24-year-old white Marine, on Manchurian Candidate, right? On the New York City subway. So what do you think, bro? Saturnalia, the crowning, sacrificial lambs, is the mental health excuse the new excuse for sacrificial lambs in our society? What do you think? Especially
I don't think it's the new excuse. It's the old excuse, but it's no different than those saying that they were scared for their life.
Right.
The dude's running from you at 5 miles per hour, running away from you. He's 25 yards away and growing, and you said you're scared for your life. Same thing.
Yeah. Now, what I want to think about this, because of course we play chestnut checkers here, and then of course when the brother gets assaulted and ambushed on the train, by which he passed away, being choked for 15 minutes, he was actually being held down by other people, as you can see right here. The Marine is choking him out, but there's 2 other people holding him down. Now, on a crowded New York City subway, where this is probably, he's rode these trains up and down and in and out in all parts for years at this point.
And all he did was ask for some food or some money, in which thousands of people do every day in New York City subways.
Right. Now I'm not going to say the brother was no angel, because he did have his fair share of, like, he kickstarted some shit, and he harassed some people, and he did some things physically to some people. So he wasn't without error.
But hold on. But part of what they talked about he did was, because he was homeless, he would engage himself in criminal activity so that he can go to jail, so he have a roof over his head and food in his belly.
I was just about to get to that, bro. I was just about to get to that. I was just about to ask, man. Do you think his trans?
Rewind.
No, you good, bro. I'm glad you brought it up. Do you think his transgressions was a call for help because he did it on purpose just to get 3 hots on the cot? Unfortunately, and are we seeing the? Here's an interesting question, because we're running into the end of the show, and I want to get a lot of this in. Do we think, of course, now we had on this show, and we saw how they was giving those psychotropic drugs to the freedom fighters of the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. And those people went and bore children, and their children bore children. And this brother might be the birth child of one of these people that were incarcerated, that were given these psychotropic drugs, and that were turned one way or the other into this kind of pseudo masculine, super effeminized type of person. And do you think that Brother Neely was the product of those things? They said he was ADHD, and we know that in that I'm not going to quote the name of the drug, but we saw it. They gave it all to the freedom fighters of the 60s and the 70s, and then declared them mentally insane. So do you think that this is the birth child of a lot of what has happened to our peoples in the 60s and the 70s come back to bear witness in our day and time.
It could be that, or it could be maybe he was on ADHD drugs when he was in primary school.
Yeah.
It could be one of
Yeah,
the other.
they said he was schizophrenic, and the reason why I chose the topic for this show is because all of these people here, Jordan Neely, Daniel Prude, Mario Clark, Breonna Greer, and Deborah Danner, they were all schizophrenic or had some sort of paranoid delusion in their medical screening that made them disabled or mentally unstable. And why do you think that instead of the mental health community growing, developing, and the mental health authorities being more, I guess, fortified with ways to answer and enhance people's lives, even though you see these diagnoses growing exponentially, why do you think that they uh, deferred the services of this to police officers that are just dangerous or at the very least super clumsy with it? Why do you think police got that task instead of mental health authorities and developed agencies?
I think a part of it is just because when you decide that when you don't have value for people's lives, it gives you an excuse to do what they do, which is exterminate them. And people don't feel half bad anyway. They're like, oh, he was a little nuts. So anyway, he on the system. He ain't gonna ever be a productive person of society. So why do we need to have him around? And then what we do from that is we then start talking about all their transgressions, and we put that on front page news, and people are just like, okay, well, another one bites the dust. We got bigger problems in America to be worrying about that kind of stuff, but we don't worry about the bigger problems in America. But that's a whole other story.
Do you think the legacy of ADHD drugs as it pertains to the effeminization of men, because that was another thing that it led to, and then also the cognitive dissonance that goes on with brothers and sisters, because of course the families can't control these people when they get sporadic and out of control. Do you think that in effect is do you think that was, are we in a pandemic as far as that was concerned? Was that planned for that to hatch at this point with the medical and the pharmaceutical piece attached to it? Or do you think that that's just, I guess, part and parcel with the savage inequalities of white supremacy? I know I'm asking a loaded question, bro.
It's the savage inequality.
Okay.
And with that savage inequality comes the pandemic. It's creating that we created this problem and this is how we're going to deal with it.
No doubt. And then we're all, in my opinion, are we all? Here's a question for the larger community watching. Are we all a bad decision or two away from what brother Jordan Neely is dealing with right now? Death and being I guess devalued, and his legacy and his being criminalized, and his whole his whole episode that he went through. And now we say, of course, he did some things to gather attention, but are we all a poor decision or two away from if the Internet of Bodies gets to the dome piece, are we a crazy moment or two away from being like a brother Jordan Neely?
I think so, because a lot of us as a people, we as a people are not emotionally mature. And partly because we live in a perpetual state of a lot of us arrested development, and psychosocially somewhat maladapted. And I hate to say stuff like that, but these are just certain realities out there, because we can't seem to think our way out of a wet paper bag, and we think that the only way through something is doing the same thing that our oppressors have done, which is, violence, 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 aggressiveness, aggressiveness. And part of it is too is we're fed up, we're tired, we're frustrated. But a lot of that frustration for some of us, we don't even know what that frustration is, because I know you, and coming from downstate in particular, I know we know people who've never left off a 3 or 4 square block radius.
Yeah, man. I finally got I finally caught a quote that was a little simpler to capture. Silver, hey, that's my guy. He used to watch my son's show, Broadcast Beats, and he says, white supremacy works. I hope I'm saying white supremacy. I hope that's what he means. It works in layered ways to make this AI God thing a reality. Yeah, man. Stay woke. Stay woke. That's what they was doing to Get Out, right? They was trying to they was trying to lobotomize old boy and put the consciousness of the white dude in his body.
Yep.
Yeah, man. And then of course we don't want to even talk about where all these bodies go once they're of the mentally ill who aren't able to make it, and what they're being used for.
But you know what's interesting? Think of your mindset. Here you got this guy sitting there choking this dude out. You got other people kind of just holding him down, like holding his hands, like be patient, be patient. 15 minutes is a long ass time.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That is a long time.
What was the
And
George
for nobody
Floyd?
to sit there and look at this dude and be like, yo, let him go now.
What was the George Floyd record? 8 minutes, right?
Right. And we thought that was we thought that was a day in a life, man.
So now you got a Marine of all people applying this sort of a move to this dude who was a Michael Jackson of sorts. So a Michael Jackson impersonator of sorts. So his build, he ain't me. Let's put it like that. He knew the right one. He knew the right one to approach with that foo-foo miss. He knew that.
It was the Will Smith, Chris Rock slap.
Exactly.
He knew that's what that was. Exactly. And then the other question I have is, why are we so afraid that when we see people doing something to our people that we don't do nothing about it? I ain't saying you got to go and beat up the Marine, but I'm saying, like, bro, after about a minute, I'm like, let him go, man. Let him go. We got him. We got him. You can let him go. Why do we have to sit there 15 minutes, man?
Right. And you see the guy standing there. The guy standing there above the Marine is watching.
Y'all really? What do y'all think was going to happen if he holds that dude like that for 15 minutes? That goes to show you the savage nature of America, man. The fact that you can sit there and let minutes pass by. We get on George, the police officer who had his knee in his neck. But look at this situation. This guy's not even a police officer. And the people around him ain't police officers. They're just sitting there staring, watching.
Right. But
if I'm holding somebody by their neck, typically the average person would say, let him go. That's enough, man. That's enough. Yo, you're killing him, man. Yo, he can't breathe. Something.
but they held him
A
down.
thinking person would do that.
They held
Nobody
him down.
did anything.
And why would those people agree to just jump up and hold him down? I've been in New York for many a decade, and people don't care, bro. They will walk past you.
That's true.
You will be falling in a puddle of water, bloody water, and they will. Oh well, that's you.
Well, you know what?
Me.
You know
got
what?
a train to catch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what? You're right. But you're right though.
And help this dude.
But you're right though. If that was Rochester, that's Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, and that didn't happen, we can kind of complain about that. But that is New York, where people see crazy stuff day in and day out. People are on the move, but they weren't on the move. They didn't just like keep walking by and doing the New York thing. Got to go where I got to go. They give you that look like.
Yeah.
They were sitting there observing.
It's right. It's go time. For New Yorkers, it's go time.
Listen, they'd be like, yo, somebody would come over and say, let them go, or they'll just keep walking. She sat there watching what goes on 15 minutes.
And these 3 people participated in this man's, they held him down and choked him out until he expired. Unbelievable. Well, listen, man, we'll deal with it a little bit more next week. On Wednesday, as more details on this arise. We want to thank Brother Mozzie. We want to thank everybody on Mob Crush. We want to thank Brother Silver for his comment. Keep coming through, bro. Come through on the show if you want. You will have a live on stage pass to come on and rock with us if you like. Just let me know. I'll bring you up and you can do your thing on the show. And thanks for joining us. We are the Real HD Show. As always, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a timestamp where you think you want to comment on something that happened in the show. And if you have something to say, you say it before the mass media says it for you. Brother Mozzie, you got anything before we get out of here?
People, you want to know what's going on in the world, you need to be listening to the Real HD.
Hey, love it. Let's go. That's right. Tune in to the Real HD Show on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Let's get them again. All right. Peace, y'all. Love on each other. Look out for each other. Peace and love. Walk with power.